right there! You won't get away! A horrible spot! Ah! It found help me! Oh, this is stupid! A puppy!
Oh, it felt so real. I was so scared.
What happened between both friends to have caused such horrific dream to occur would be reviewed as we began. Sit tight and enjoy this ride with me. In a very beautiful community like no other in their town, where everyone lives in unity and love, their bond was a history to be told from generation to generation, because it was never so from the beginning. In this village were two best friends. They made same hair, wore same dress, went to places together. In fact, they did things together and were always called the unborn twins jokingly by people. They trusted each other to the extent no one could come in between them at any point. Then, this particular period, a message was sent to villagers from the palace that the prince was coming back to the village after many years studying abroad. This brought delight and celebration to all of them. They were all eager and happy to meet and welcome their foreign prince. At night, in each home, every parent would call their beautiful grown-up daughter to be prepared for the prince's coming, and Ufuoma and Oluchi's parents were not exempted. When Ufuoma was told by her happy parents, she laughed, telling them she had no reason to be over-prepared for his coming. You better shut your mouth there. What do you know? Do you think other parents won't be preparing their daughters for his coming as well? A child who refuses the elder's advice will dance alone in the marketplace. Must you learn the hard way? Her mother said. Ufuoma sat in front of her parents and sighed, then told them why they shouldn't worry about the prince coming, because he wouldn't even think a bit about the maidens in his town. Do you think a well-educated guy like him will think, like even thought of having things to do with us? Ta, Mama, it's not possible. It can't be possible. Just look at me. What do I know? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What I know is just to cook and harvest. Apart from that, I have nothing upstairs. Her mother shushed her, not agreeing to what she was saying. The old woman kept arguing with her, even interrupting her husband. Let her be. When the right time comes, she would understand better, the old man said, and turned to the wall to sleep. You better tell her the truth. She is beautiful and will definitely be the best choice for the prince. Mama, stop dreaming. You're just assuming enjoy, Ufuoma said, going to her room while laughing along. 2 days later, Ufuoma and her friend Oluchi sat under a big tree in their matching attire, discussing about their parents' proposal of making them the prince's wife. They laughed, calling their parents jokers, because they knew it won't be possible. Please give me water. A poor-looking shabby man stopped in front of them, looking exhausted. Oluchi frowned, chasing him away while covering her nose. The man came back again looking sad with his empty plate. Are you hungry too? Ufuoma asked, stopping her friend from sending him away again. Yes, beautiful maiden. I am very hungry. Nobody helped me. They were all chasing me away, the man said, and Ufuoma felt sad for him. She urged him to wait in order to pluck mangoes for him, because that is what was around she could render. Oluchi dragged her back, asking if she was okay. Do you even know what you are doing? Like this smelling thing. You want to give him mango with your hand? Oh no, it will definitely smell. It will smell Ufuoma. Ah, Oluchi, why behaving this way? He is poor and probably weak. A little help could help. If my hand stinks, then it will be washed. And moreover, he is definitely from a family. Life might have rendered him like this, Ufuoma replied, ignoring her friend as she looked for means to pluck down the mangoes. When she remembered he was thirsty, she left her friend behind and ran to a nearby hut to beg for water and brought it to the man before proceeding with the mango. The beggar was pleased and left after thanking Ufuoma. Oluchi refused talking to her until she made sure her hands were washed. She wasn't happy because of her friend's generosity, but she knew it might just be for that day. DESY. At the palace, the king was extremely excited, awaiting his son's arrival. Moment later, he was informed of his coming, and he rose up happily to go welcome him. His queens and others all followed. When father and son men, they embrace each other happily. DESY. My good son, I am glad to see you again, the king rejoiced. I can see that, father. Your deodorant still feels the same, and you seems not ready to age at all. Desy. Father and son laughed, hugging again. When he saw his mother, he embraced her warmly, feeling the best moment he had missed with her. It was a great moment in the palace. The king fed everyone to their satisfaction, and what brought a questionable expression was when the king looked over to a small puppy eating from a plate. He asked his son about it, and he smiled, telling his father he loved pet. Desy. So you brought this from Obodo Oyinbo? His father's eyes wide opened. Yes, although it has been in Nigeria for some days after shipping with. Desy. How? Who did you send it to? His father asked curiously. Desy. Don't worry about that, father. Anyways, on my way coming, I saw many diversity changes. How time flies. Oh well, son, it is good because your father has been doing great. They all laughed at the dining table. Desy. Just like a breeze, it has been spread around in the village that the prince is around. The chiefs and elders are visited the palace occasionally to welcome him, and some with the intention of getting familiar with him on behalf of their daughters. Ufuoma father ran to meet one of the chiefs who was his friend and talked to him about describing the prince's appearance. Grease and Sans. I know you don't have a daughter. Sorry to say, my friend. But, you know, Ufuoma is like a daughter to you, and I believe you will have her in mind when it comes to deliberating in your meeting with the king about choosing a woman for the prince. Please, my friend, you know, whatever is good for me will definitely be good for you. Don't forget what I said. Grease and Sans. His friend looked at him like a fool, longing for overnight success. He patted his shoulder and advised him not to make him go the wrong way. Instead, he should pray to the gods to favor his family. Ufuoma father was stunned by his response, and before he could speak, his friend left without looking back. The man returned home troubling in his mind. One sunny afternoon, the prince left the palace dressing like a commoner who barely feed himself a day. He walked without bodyguard or a friend, just him alone. He got to a river bend where he knew maidens would emerge from, and one after the other, he stopped to admire each of them. Some ignored him, some splashed him water, while some also talked rudely at him. Grease and Sans. If at all, I decided to accept anyone's compliment about my beauty. Do you think it could be you? No way. You poor thing, a girl said, laughing away with her friends. Grease and Sans. Just then, Ufuoma and Oluchi showed up laughing, while cracking jokes with their pot of water on their head. The prince frightened them jokingly by jumping in front of them. It got Oluchi fuming in rage. Grease and Sans. Wow, you two look beautifully. Are you twins? Grease and Sans. You must be very stupid. Oluchi bounced forward, slapping his cheek. How dare you? Instead of you to apologize for scaring us, you left your empty brain under your feet to chastise us with your nonsense talk. Grease and Sans. The prince immediately apologized, but yet Oluchi wasn't ready to give up. Ufuoma had to stop her from speaking further. Grease and Sans. At least he has apologized, so let it slide, Sure said. Grease and Sans. Yes, I have apologized. I didn't mean it, girls. I was only trying to be friendly. Don't get my act wrong. Okay. Grease and Sans. It is all right, young man. Next time don't do it again, because you almost made me broke my water pot. Grease and Sans. The prince felt remorseful and apologized again. He asked for their names, and Oluchi told him to come closer. But instead, she bit his ear slightly, and he screamed, holding it firmly. Grease and Sans. That is to teach you lesson. Next time, you should learn always to act well. And moreover, you are not our type, she hissed, dragging Ufuoma along, who giggled without a choice. Grease and Sans. The prince opened his mouth in disbelief, watching them going. He rubbed his ear tenderly because of the hotness. Grease and Sans. What? These girls are so mean. Just today being my first outwalk, I have received slap and insults left and right. Are these girls my father proclaimed to be well-mannered and very home-trained? I don't think it's true. There can't be true love with these ones. Can you imagine? One even said I smelled disgustingly. Is it true? Goddarda. He checked himself out, sniffing his dress to confirm it, and he bursted out crying. Goddarda. This smells truly. Why should my friend give me this? I didn't realize at all. Goddarda. After the river disaster, the prince stormed into his childhood friend Jide's hut, flopping onto a stool like a deflated puff-puff. Goddarda. Jide! Village girls are witches. One slapped me, another bit my ear, and the pretty one just laughed. Ah, I was called Stinky. Like what the hell? Goddarda. Jide, roasting plantain over a fire, burst into laughter so hard he nearly dropped his snack. Ah, Prince Charming got rejected by village maidens? Maybe you should stick to city girls or American girls. They only break your heart, not your bones. Goddarda. The prince groaned. But father says a queen must understand our people. How can she do that if she's from Lagos or America? Goddarda. Jide shrugged. Simple. Lagos girls understand money. And you have plenty. Just have one to yourself and that's all. I don't even know what you desire in this lazy girls in our village. They are not smart as you may think. Goddarda. Well, leave that to me. I have the choice to make, he replied, kicking his friend jokingly for the smelling cloth he wore. At Ufuoma's house, her father, Pa Eze, yanked open a chest of dusty wrappers, scowling. Call your sister in Benin. Tell her to send all her finest fabrics. The king will summon every maiden soon, and Ufuoma must shine. Ufuoma's mother nodded frantically, but Ufuoma just giggled. Baba, the prince won't pick me. Oluchi is prettier. Silence. Ez slammed the chest shut. You'll wear gold, smile like a goddess, and never mention that sharp-tongued lizard Oluchi. Is it because she is your friend? So you prefer rendering your friend into riches while you stank? Or? Ufuoma rolled her eyes. Or what, Papa? The prince will marry a rapper instead. Why is it a norms for you all to want your daughter into royalties? Even the gods are not blind. Her parents gasped as if she'd cursed the ancestors. Goddarda. That evening, the prince played with Kofi, his puppy, in the palace courtyard, tossing a bone. Who's a good boy? You are. Yes, you. Son. The prince turned to see his mother, Queen Adasuwa, smirking. I hear you met maidens today. Any favorites? He sighed. Yes, but I was humiliated and slammed with words. His mother frowned. But, out of all, one was kind, but shy, and the other bit me. The queen's eyes gleamed. Ah! How could she? What is her name? I don't even know their name, but... Okay, don't worry. I must surely deal with her. But son, I have known a very beautiful girl in this village, and you will love her. Really? His eyes widened. She is my customer's daughter. Very adorable girl. Her name is Oluchi. I will bring her to the palace soon, before others. She swept away before he could protest. The prince stared at Kofi. Did my mother just matchmake me with a girl who I don't even know? Kofi yapped. The prince took that as a yes. The next day, Ufuoma and Oluchi sat outside Oluchi's hut, braiding hair. Oluchi sang, her voice sweet as honey, until the previous beggar hobbled into view, smelling like rotten fish. Good afternoon, maidens, he croaked. Ufuoma smiled. Afternoon, uncle. Are you not? Ew. Oluchi clamped her nose shut. Please, I am hungry. Feed me, please. Oh, wait, uncle. I am coming. Ufuoma left Oluchi here. Ufuoma, if you dare give him food from my mother's pot, I'll curse your future husband. Ufuoma gasped. Oluchi, since when do you hate the poor? My friend, don't be like this. The man is hungry, please. Just then, another maiden, Adan, joined them, wrinkling her nose. This beggar stinks worse than a dead rat. Scram, old man. She sniffles. The beggar's shoulders slumped as he shuffled away. Ufuoma, near tears, whispered, What's wrong with everyone today? Oluchi scoffed. Charity won't make you queen, foolish Foma. Do you think the king or prince will notice all this good girl of thing you are portraying? I wonder, Adan snubbed. As the beggar rounded the bend, he straightened, his tattered cloak falling away to reveal the king's royal advisor. He pulled a scroll from his sleeve, jotting notes. Ufuoma, kind. Oluchi, cruel. Adane, rude. Smirking, he muttered. The prince's bride must have a gentle heart, but the queen wants a fighter. This will be fun. Prince Emeka paced outside his father's chambers, his fingers drumming against his thigh. Kofe trotted beside him, his golden tail wagging. 89. What do you think they're planning, boy? The prince murmured. Kofe yipped and tilted his head, as if considering the question. The king's deep voice called from within, Enter, my son. The prince pushed open the heavy wooden doors. Inside, King Obioma sat with his chief advisor, Elder Chibuzor, their heads bent over a scroll. Father. Prince Emeka began, summoning all the maidens. Are you certain this is wise? The king chuckled, stroking his beaded beard. Tell me, Emeka, if you were to choose a wife today, who would it be? The prince hesitated. I don't know. Exactly, the king said, exchanging a glance with Elder Chibuzor. A pretty face is easy to find, but a queen? That requires testing. What kind of test? The prince asked. Elder Chibuzor's eyes gleamed. The kind that separates gold from fool's gold, Your Highness. Koifi suddenly growled, his hackles rising. The prince frowned. Easy, boy. What's wrong? The king's gaze sharpened. Even your dog senses it. Tomorrow will reveal much, my son. Trust in that. So, this is the plan. The town crier's voice boomed through the marketplace. Hear ye, by order of His Majesty, King Obioma, all maidens of noble character must present themselves at the palace tomorrow. Prince Emeka seeks a bride. Bride? Ah, this is a good news. I have to go and prepare my daughters, one said. I salute the prince for thinking wise about marrying from home. And Hunter said to his friend, but who will he choose among all the beautiful girls we have? My friend, it is not only about beauty, the hunter replied. It is not only about beauty. At Ufuoma's compound, her mother nearly dropped the pot of soup she was stirring. Ufuoma, where are you? We must prepare. Ufuoma emerged from the hut, wiping her hands on her wrapper. Prepare for what? Have you gone deaf? Her father bellowed, nearly tripping over a stool in his excitement. The prince is choosing a wife tomorrow. Ufuoma sighed. Baba, I already told you I am. Don't you dare say you're not going, her mother shrieked, grabbing Ufuoma's shoulders. Do you know how many girls would kill for this chance? Ufuoma gently pried her mother's hands away. Mama, if the prince wants a wife, let him come see me grinding peppers like any honest woman. I won't parade myself like a decorated goat at market. Her father's face turned red. Stubborn child. Must you always talk out of your senses? Let her be. Her grandmother interrupted from her corner, chewing cola nut. If the prince is wise, he'll see her worth without all that nonsense. Oh, thank you, Grandma. Meanwhile, at Oluchi's house, her mother was braiding her hair so tightly it made her wince. The queen favors you, my jewel, her mother whispered excitedly. I heard it from the palace washerwoman. You must shine brighter than all the others, especially Ufuoma. Oluchi smirked at her reflection in the polished bronze mirror. Ufuoma says she won't compete. Such a fool. Her father, standing in the doorway, frowned. Don't trust words, daughter. Prepare as if she will. Oluchi laughed, tossing her half-braided hair. Please, Ufuoma wouldn't betray me. She's too soft for that, and I believe her. Her mother hesitated. Still, it wouldn't hurt to. Mama, relax, Oluchi said, standing and stretching. By this time tomorrow, I'll be the prince's chosen bride. Just wait and see. As dusk painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, the prince, once again in his tattered disguise, wandered the forest's edge. Then he saw her. Ufuoma emerged from the trees, a massive bundle of firewood balanced effortlessly on her head. Her simple indigo wrapper clung to her damp skin, and her bare feet moved sure and steady over the rocky path. Let me help you with that, the prince called out, stepping forward. She turned, startled, then smiled in recognition. Oh, it's you again. She adjusted the load on her head. I've carried heavier. But thank you. The prince fell into step beside her. You're not preparing for tomorrow's gathering? Ufuoma chuckled. What's there to prepare? I am who I am. Still, most girls would be fussing over beads and silks. She shrugged. Most girls dream of being queen. I dream of a quiet life with honest work. The prince studied her the way the fading light caught the sweat on her collarbone, the quiet strength in her bearing. You're unlike the others, he murmured, and she sighed. Oh well, I owe you an apology for my friend's behavior that day. Oluchi. She's not usually so cruel. You apologize for her? Ufuoma met his gaze. Someone should, and moreover, she's my friend. The prince hesitated, then spun his usual lie to other girls when she asked about him. My parents died long ago. I've been alone since. It was a long story. Ufuoma stopped walking. In the golden light of sunset, her eyes softened with genuine sorrow. I'm sorry, she said quietly. That must be very hard. The prince swallowed, suddenly uncomfortable with his deception. Come by our hut any time, Ufuoma continued, her voice warm. "No one should eat alone. We will definitely welcome you. By the way, tell me your name." He smiled and said Kofi. Kofi? What a name. She laughed and then apologized, not intending to joke over it, and he accepted, happy within to see her beautiful expression with his lies. As they parted ways, the prince couldn't shake the feeling that Ufuoma's kindness was a rare treasure, one he wasn't sure he deserved. Back in his chambers that night, the prince sat by the window, tossing scraps of dried meat to Kofi. The puppy caught each piece midair, his tail wagging furiously. "You like her, don't you, boy? The beautiful girl I told you about," the prince murmured. Kofi yipped in agreement. The prince sighed, running a hand through his hair. "If only she'd see me as not orphan nor the servant I would be." Kofi suddenly stiffened, his ears pricking forward. A low growl rumbled in his chest as he stared at the balcony. "What is it?" The prince followed the dog's gaze but saw only swaying palm fronds. Then a whisper of movement, a shadow that seemed to dart just out of sight. "Hello?" the prince called out, stepping forward, and there was silence. Kofi's growls intensified, his golden eyes fixed on the darkness. The prince's unease grew. "Easy, boy. Maybe it's just the wind." But as he turned back inside, he couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching. The next morning, the palace courtyard was alive with color and noise. Maidens in dazzling silks and glittering jewels jostled for position, their laughter and chatter filling the air, all except Ufuoma. She stood quietly near the back, her simple indigo wrapper clean but unadorned. Oluchi, resplendent in crimson and gold, elbowed her sharply. "Look," Oluchi hissed, pointing. "It's that beggar from the river. Now he's pretending to be a servant." Ufuoma followed her gaze to where the prince stood among the palace staff, his posture stiff as he held a wine jug. "Maybe he works here," she murmured. Oluchi snorted. "Or maybe he's slave. Watch this." Before Ufuoma could stop her, Oluchi sauntered over, her hips swaying exaggeratedly. "Oh, servant," she called, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Come pour for me." The prince approached, keeping his eyes downcast. As he tipped the wine jug, Oluchi intentionally stepped on his foot, grinding her heel down. The prince's jaw clenched, but he made no sound. "Oops," Oluchi giggled, fluttering her eyelashes. "Clumsy me." Ufuoma's hands balled into fists at her sides. "Oluchi." "What?" Oluchi smirked. "He's just a servant." An elder banged his staff against the stone floor. "Maidens, line up before the king." Girls scrambled to arrange themselves, pushing and shoving. Oluchi elbowed her way to the front, while Ufuoma remained at the back. A palace attendant handed the prince a golden jug of wine. "Each maiden shall drink to the prince's health," the elder announced. One by one, the prince moved down the line, pouring wine into outstretched cups. "First maiden, for the love of the prince," she gushed, draining her cup. "Second maiden, every drop is sweeter than honey," she declared, drinking deeply. Oluchi's turn. She accepted her cup with a smirk. As the prince poured, she stepped on his foot again, harder this time. "Oh dear," she simpered, not even pretending it was an accident. "These clumsy feet of mine." The prince's grip tightened on the jug, but he said nothing. Oluchi raised her cup in a mocking toast. "To Prince Emeka, may he choose wisely." She drank it all in one go, her eyes never leaving the prince's face. The next maiden in line wrinkled her nose as the prince approached. "Ugh, do you ever bathe?" she sneered, holding her cup as far away as possible. Then came Ufuoma's turn. As the prince stepped toward her, the girl behind her stuck out her foot. The prince tripped spectacularly. Wine splashed across Ufuoma's dress as they tumbled to the ground in a tangle of limbs. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Are you hurt?" Ufuoma asked immediately, ignoring her ruined clothes. The prince stared up at her, stunned by her concern. Before he could respond, Oluchi descended like a storm. "How dare you!" she shrieked, yanking the prince up by his collar. "You filthy, clumsy!" "Enough!" the king's voice boomed across the courtyard. "You disgrace our hospitality. Out of this premises." End quote. The servant was dragged away by guards as Ufuoma called after him. "It was an accident." Oluchi rounded on her. "Why are you defending him? Look what he did to your dress. Leave him to suffer." She scoffed. Ufuoma met her friend's glare steadily, because it was an accident, unlike your behavior today. Dubi SP is. Oluchi's eyes flashed with anger, but before she could retort, the king's advisor stepped forward. "Each maiden will now explain why she drank the prince's wine fully. One by one, they gave their answers. For the love of the prince, every drop was sweeter than honey from my lips. When Oluchi's turn came, she tossed her braids confidently. I'd drink 10 cups if it pleased his highness. Then came Ufuoma. The advisor frowned at her half-full cup. You alone left wine unfinished. Explain this insult. A hush fell over the courtyard. Ufuoma met the advisor's gaze without flinching. The wine tasted bitter like palm wine left too long in the sun. I don't drink what my tongue rejects, not for tradition. Not even for a prince. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The advisor's face darkened. Yea, my God, look at this daughter of mine, her father murmured. You dare imply the royal wine was. It's not an implication, Ufuoma interrupted calmly. Just truth. Shouldn't a queen know when something tastes wrong? Oluchi's jaw dropped. Ufuoma, have you lost your... The king raised a hand, silencing her. His eyes gleamed as he studied Ufuoma. We value honesty in this court, even when it's inconvenient. Then the trumpets blared. Presenting Prince Emeka. A side door opened. A wheelchair was pushed forward, but it was empty. Confusion spread through the crowd. Then, from the shadows, stepped the real prince, no longer in disguise. Oluchi's face drained of color. Ufuoma's eyes widened in recognition. And Coffee burst into the courtyard, barking wildly at Oluchi, who stumbled back in fear. The prince's voice rang out. The test is over. Oluchi trembled violently, her fingers digging into Ufuoma's arm. This is a trick, right? Tell me we're seeing things. Ufuoma didn't respond. Her eyes were locked onto the prince's face, the same kind eyes that had met hers in the forest. The crowd held its breath until a familiar figure emerged from behind the throne. The royal messenger, now clean-shaven and dressed in fine silks, stepped forward. His face, once covered in dirt, was now unmistakable. That beggar! A woman shrieked from the crowd. The one who came to our compound! Another gasped. The messenger's voice boomed across the courtyard. Yes, I was the beggar you all scorned, the one you turned away from your doors. His piercing gaze swept over the maidens. But today, I stand before you as Chief Easy, the king's most trusted advisor. Oluchi's knees buckled. She clutched Ufuoma's arm, her perfectly manicured nails drawing blood. This can't be, she whispered hoarsely. That filthy beggar was. Chief Eze's smile turned razor sharp. And now, by order of His Majesty, the test is concluded. He unrolled a scroll with a dramatic flourish. The following maidens are disqualified for cruelty: Adan, Neka, and Oluchi. The moment her name was spoken, Oluchi's world shattered. No! Her scream tore through the courtyard as she collapsed to her knees, her expensive beads scattering like broken dreams. Your Highness, please, had I known. The queen, who had been watching silently, suddenly stood. Wait, this is the girl who bite you? The prince nodded. His mother's face darkened, not believing whom she had in mind was a wolf. You dared lay teeth on my son? The queen thundered, her regal composure shattering. You, a village rat, thought you could abuse the future king? How can it be you? Oluchi sobbed, crawling forward. I was just... Just what? The queen sneered. Just a selfish, arrogant brat who thinks beauty excuses wickedness. I'm so disappointed in your mother. Oluchi wailed, pressing her forehead to the ground. The prince raised a hand, silencing the crowd. We tested you all in 2 ways. His voice carried effortlessly. The wine was laced with a bitter herb, a test to see who would blindly follow tradition versus who would think for herself. His gaze swept over the stunned maidens before landing on the empty space where Ufuoma had stood, and his heart lurched. Ufuoma? His eyes widened to see her gone already. The king's voice cracked like thunder. Search every corner of this palace. Guards scrambled in all directions, their armor clanking as they fanned out. The prince grabbed the captain's arm. Start with the western gardens. She liked the rose bushes. He ordered, his voice tight. Your Highness. The captain hesitated. What if she left willingly? Then why would she run after being chosen? The prince snapped. He turned to another guard. Check the kitchens. Ask if anyone saw her. Yes, my prince. A young maid stepped forward, trembling. I saw her, Your Highness. She ran toward the servants' gate. Looked like she was crying. The prince's stomach dropped. Crying? Why would? Chief Eze gripped his shoulder. Someone must have threatened her. No woman flees such an honor without cause. The prince's hands clenched into fists. Find her, now. At Ufuoma's home, her mother paced like a caged animal, her wrapper clutched in her fists. Where is my child? Where? She cried to the heavens. Her father sat slumped on a stool, his face ashen. This wasn't supposed to happen, not when the prince finally chose her. You forced her to go, her mother snapped, whirling on him. If she had stayed home. And missed being queen? He shot back, slamming his fist on the table. How was I to know the palace was full of snakes? And she left without our awareness. Enough. Ufuoma's grandmother slammed her walking stick down. Arguing won't bring her back. We must pray. Her mother collapsed onto the floor, her sobs shaking her entire body. What if she's dead? What if they've... The old woman's grip tightened on her stick. No, the gods wouldn't be so cruel. She stared into the fire. Not when her destiny shines so bright. The moment Oluchi stumbled through her family's door, her mother's hand connected with her cheek in a stinging slap. Idiot child. Her mother screeched, grabbing Oluchi's braids and yanking hard enough to make her scream. We told you to be careful. We told you Ufuoma would win. Now see your life. Oluchi collapsed to the floor, her tears mixing with the dirt. She was my friend. Friend? Her father's kick sent her sprawling. You lost a kingdom over friendship. You, this disgusting child. I didn't know it was him, Oluchi wailed, clutching her ribs. That's the point. Her mother hissed, grabbing a clay pot and smashing it against the wall above Oluchi's head. Shards rained down on her. A true queen would have been kind to anyone, even a beggar, even a dog, and you walk around in pride. Ordinary wine, you finished it, even though it was bitter. Longer throat. Oluchi curled into a ball, her entire body shaking. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry won't put gold in our pockets, her father roared, kicking a stool so hard it splintered. We're ruined because of your stupid pride. Her mother suddenly stilled, her eyes narrowing. Unless, she grabbed Oluchi's chin, unless you fix this. How? She asked freakishly. Then. 4 sleepless nights later, Prince Emeka strapped on his hunting leathers with grim determination. Coffee whined at his feet, pawing at his boots. We're going to find her, boy, the prince murmured, scratching the puppy's ears. The king frowned. Take 20 guards. The forests aren't safe. Too many men will scare her if she's hiding, the prince argued. And if it's not her, you find? The king countered. Take at least 5 guards. The prince nodded reluctantly. He turned to his most trusted men. Stay close, but keep quiet. If she's run away, I don't want to frighten her further. But if otherwise, you should take action. Understood, Your Highness, the captain said. But if we encounter trouble, then protect Kofi first and I will go for her, the prince said firmly. The puppy licked his hand as if in agreement. They rode out at dawn, the forest looming before them like a living thing. Deep in the thickets, Kofi suddenly froze. His nose twitched wildly before he yanked free of his leash and bolted. Kofi! Stop! The prince spurred his horse after the dog. Your Highness, wait, a guard called. Branches whipped at the prince's face as he crashed through the undergrowth. Then, bang, a gunshot ripped through the air. The prince's blood turned to ice. Kofi! Ahead, the golden puppy staggered. A dark stain spread across his fur as he collapsed. The prince screamed, leaping from his horse before it fully stopped. He skidded to his knees beside Kofi, his hands trembling as he gathered the whimpering pup. No. Kofi's breaths came in shallow, wet gasps. His golden eyes locked onto the prince's face, filled with something too human to be a dog's gaze. Then, in a voice barely audible, the puppy whispered. Find Ufuoma. The prince's heart stopped, and Kofi went limp in his arms. He held him tight, crying out, and from the trees, a figure emerged, laughing.